Special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters. Our executive producer for tonight's episode is Anita Rivnik. Thanks, Anita.
All systems go.
Attention, Sleepless Knights. Thank you for consuming this OSI 74 product broadcast, live from the Black Knight satellite. For optimum performance and safety, your host, Mr. Lobo, asks that you please listen to these instructions carefully. When in a hospital or other healthcare facility, observe the restrictions on the use of electronic devices. Switch off before boarding an aircraft to prevent interference with communications systems. Do not operate this device in the presence of flammable gases or fumes, chemical plants, or where blasting operations are in progress. Always listen hands-free while driving a vehicle. Failure to observe these instructions may lead to immediate termination. It's time now for the show to begin. Thank you. Have a very pleasant evening.
Recording.
Everything's fine. No troubles. Get set, get going. Amen. You're not dreaming. You're listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast, or should I say, Blobcast. Paul Sanders is still spinning off in space doing God knows what without his pants.
Ugh.
And I have the lovely opportunity, actually every day I have the lovely opportunity.
You're flattering me.
Of being here with Miss Blobfest, the original Miss Blobfest.
OG.
The OG Miss Blobfest. Dixie, Delaborto, Lobo. Last weekend we talked to Alex Dahl, who was Miss Blobfest 2018. And then we, in our first Blobcast, we talked to Suzanne Ferner, who was Miss Blobfest 2019. Today, on this very podcast, we are going to be talking to Miss Blobfest 2020. Actually, it has a whole different name.
Yeah, I was going to say, I believe it has a whole new name.
Which is what?
It's Miss Blobfest Universe.
Miss Blobfest Universe.
And you guys did a wonderful skit with everyone all together. We had the OG Dixie, Miss Blobfest. We had Alex Dahl, the Atomic Doll, Miss Blobfest. We had Suzanne Ferner, who was last year's Miss Blobfest. And then, of course, introducing Miss Melissa Tapley.
Yes.
Actually, the only one who was missing was Valerie.
Yeah.
Who was turned to a zombie.
Yes, it's because I killed her.
Oh, you actually killed her?
I killed her.
Yes.
She came back as a zombie.
And that became part of the skit originally, is that you as Miss Blobfest would just kill anyone else who would try to be Miss Blobfest, right? That was kind of the skit.
I mean, the whole thing was divisive. I was the first Miss Blobfest because they wanted to have a Miss Blobfest pageant, but they never were able to organize that sufficiently. So I ended up being Miss Blobfest for what?
3 years?
3 years at least.
Yeah.
And the running gag, because what was it? The second year I killed? I think I killed Chuck's wife.
Yeah.
The second or third year. But every person that came up was always just like a random grab from the audience because we didn't organize an actual pageant, and then I would kill them.
Yeah.
So.
And that became kind of like a skit where Miss Blobfest was really like a skit where Miss Blobfest was a character part of the show. And then when they finally knuckled down and said, hey, we really, even though we had you there just to sort of moisten people's palate for the idea that a Miss Blobfest pageant can happen, we really, really, really want to try and do it this time.
Yeah.
And so we really want to hand it off to someone. I think our feeling was whoever that next person who has to come in would have to be like part of the show. They would have to be a character. They would have to have a sensibility that would mesh with the story and the feeling and the humor of the night.
Yeah. I have a little anecdote about the first year that we had an actual contestant become Miss Blobfest. Joan, who was trying to organize this at the time, she wanted a character. She wanted Miss Blobfest to be sweet, and Dixie, Lobo, likes to murder all of the new Miss Blobfest. So we had a contest for somebody to submit a video. We got one contestant, and it was Valerie. And God bless her.
Weird Spooky.
Weird Spooky. Yeah, that's right. And God bless her, when she got up on stage, Joan is beaming with pride that she finally has this sweet Miss Blobfest. She comes out in this like goth princess outfit, and she's like, I bathe in the blood of babies. So like, she's like so hardcore. And I just remember Joan going and like shaking her head and me being like, yeah, Joan, sweet, innocent Miss Blobfest. So yeah, we had gorgeous goth princess as our first actual.
Yes, who bathed in the blood of infants.
Yes.
Yes. Perfect for a family show.
Yes.
and then after that, right, we had Alex Dahl.
We had Alex Dahl and Suzanne was the runner-up for that.
Yeah, and that was tough.
That was really
to choose
hard
between the two.
Yeah, it was. Suzanne actually. Alex brought all this pizzazz, and then Suzanne had, she's a scientist. And you kind of want both of those kind of things involved in this sci-fi kind of universe. You want to have your fun and pizzazz, and then your, science-minded.
And I felt also, Alex was from DC, whereas Suzanne was more of a local.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of aspects to that where it was just like, it was tough. It was like, both of these gals could really be. Can't we have both? We'll just have them both be.
Well, and that was the first year that we had the runner-up actually on stage and had them do things together.
And then we had Aurora Borealis as a third.
Yes.
And
I was still trying to kill.
Yes. Did you have a chainsaw that year? Or
No.
Did you have an axe?
Actually, this year was the year I was supposed to have the chainsaw. So I had it in the home edition.
Okay. So axe, right?
I had an axe, yeah. And another brief anecdote is that in the rehearsal, when you're struggling with an axe, it's like, okay, now I'm going to sing the song and you struggle with the axe. That takes about 30 seconds when you're rehearsing it.
Yeah.
When you're on stage, that song is like 5 minutes long.
There she is.
Yes.
Miss Blob Festival.
And the entire time I'm struggling, I've got, Aurora Borealis holding one arm back, and I've got, Nurse Death Amanda like holding me back with the other arm, and I'm like lunging for 5 solid minutes
at
at
point,
least.
Alex got
she did get the axe away from me. She got the weights
from you, and then she was trying to get
that was
winner. That was
for
last year.
Yeah,
for last year. Yeah. So there was always that running gag.
Yes,
of you all trying to kill each other, which I feel embodies beauty pageants
basically. Well, in reality, we all love each other.
Yeah.
I think the nice thing about it is it's kind of brought us all together. It's something that we all have in common. And we're all from like different worlds, Alex is like a carny sideshow.
Carny. She's in her tin can trailer throwing knives or getting knives thrown at her.
Yeah. And
eating fire.
Suzanne is in a lab somewhere trying to cure this chronic diarrhea situation.
Right, and then Melissa is a librarian.
She's working in a library. Yeah.
So she's
and I'm just a humble horror nerd.
And somehow I feel like this is a fighting force of extraordinary magnitude.
Yes.
This is like the Doll Squad 2020, right?
Yeah, except for all I bring to the table is that I'm a horror nerd.
Oh, you bring quite a bit more than that. Tell us about some of the art and things that you've done for the festival.
Well, we did a spook show poster.
Yes, which is a great poster.
I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think I was almost done an entire other poster by the time I realized, oh no, this is not the look. This isn't classic enough. So I scrapped it at the very last minute. And
really, the spook show poster inspired all the alpha artwork. Like, I think that that was the thing they saw. Is that, there's a lot of great Cinema Insomnia artwork, but Dixie's Spook Show poster inspired this line that they're doing now, where it looks like a lithograph.
Very flattered.
With me down in the corner pointing out. And the dripping stuff everywhere. It's and the crate, I think, when we made the crate together for the one.
That was a lot of fun.
That was that 2018?
Oh geez, don't try and make me remember.
Was the crate. We literally built the crate from the Creep Show segment.
Yeah, it really is Creep Show, not really Blobfest.
On it from the Arctic. It does say Arctic Expedition. It says, but we put 1958 instead of 18, whatever it was. But it actually is almost exactly the crate from Creep Show.
Yeah.
Only it's supposed to be the blob crate that's come back from the Arctic somehow. And I always thought, you made like that crown out of a picture of the colonial.
Yeah. Well, it's because I had the giant red blob wig.
And so you had a blob dress that you made.
Yeah.
Dixie's artistic. I think she brought a lot artistically, graphically to the imagery, the iconography, the things that people remember visually about the Blobfest that we've had the past few years. I know I'm close to it because I'm your husband.
Yeah. Thanks, Mom. Oh, you're special. Yeah, but you made that giant gorilla skull, which was pretty awesome that one year too. There's been a lot of interesting props for that show. And then, all of the countless things that Andy has made for Blobfest.
Andy is a unsung hero of Blobfest. The Shorty Awards, the thing that people rub for luck. By the projection booth, the plaque on the wall there, her involvement in that creation of that. A lot of the dance numbers and things she was involved in, the playing incorporating the organist or all of these sort of things, searching under the chairs for the blob, and decontaminating people, and the large cutout that people stick their faces through.
People love that thing.
And Andy made that with her hands, and that whole thing with the red lights and the CO2 inside the breezeway.
Another iconic thing,
and the tinfoil hat competition. So Andy is not part of the show anymore, which is a shame. But I think it's worth acknowledging her in this Blobcast. But right now, it's time to talk to your friend and mine, our new Miss Blobfest. Actually, yes, our new Miss Blobfest, Melissa Tapley, but right after this break.
Everybody, it's the King of Mars! King of Mars, what are you doing here?
Well, I've been hiding undetected in disguise, waiting for you people to finish so I could whisk away Miss Blobfest to be my wife.
You mean you tried to scare us with this crate?
To be my queen. To be the mother of all my podlings.
Mother of your podlings? Wow. So you came for Miss Blobfest all along?
I did. But I am more interested in your feisty nurse.
What? Nurse Dixie?
Miss Nurse, will you be my wife? Will you be the master, help me govern, and perhaps a little housework?
She agrees, ladies and gentlemen. She's gonna marry the monster from outer space. Wow. We got a ray gun ready here.
You're listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast. And there she is, Miss Blob Festival, dripping slime and gooey feels, Like the classic monster, she took the town by storm with her all-encompassing formless form. And there she is, creeping like moss, she ooze. Ooze the boss, she ooze. Miss Blob Festival. Hey, Miss Blobfest.
Hello. I'm so excited to hear that song because, you know, you were muted in our Zoom call, so that was very exciting. Thank you so much.
I was muted all of Friday night. Well, I'm glad to finally welcome you and congratulate you officially as Miss Blobfest Universe, right?
Yes, I'm so excited.
You've got dual citizenship, right? You've got your Miss Blobfest 2020, and you're also the first Miss Blobfest Universe. So now you've got outer space international intergalactic citizenship / domain, and of course you've got the usual local yearly domain, right?
Right. That's why I was thinking in the video when I was stating why I wanted to be Miss Blobfest, I was like, oh, well, it would be Phoenixville and beyond, right? So, you know, not just like local jurisdiction, just like anywhere, I guess. So it's crazy.
Yeah, the Miss Blobfest has become like the Green Lantern Corps, right?
Right. Yeah. But there's like it's a whole super team at this point. It's growing and ever changing like a blob. They're just absorbing us.
And it's interesting because I don't feel like we're changing Miss Blobfest as much as we're collecting Miss Blobfests.
yeah, for sure. Absorbing and just like, you know, kind of, I feel like the festival kind of absorbs people and just every year gets a little different and has all these different little fun additions and personalities and characters. It's fun. It's so much fun, both as a spectator and now like actually being able to participate. It's amazing.
It grows and grows and grows. What was your first Blobfest experience like, and when was that?
So we moved here in 2015 from Rhode Island, and we found the theater shortly after that. I saw a few movies, and then I discovered that Blobfest happened there because we were watching a movie. We were watching The Blob one night, and I flipped out because I realized that's a theater we sit in every time we go. So the first Blobfest I went to was 2017, and I went with my family. And it was the following year that I was able to get run-out tickets with a friend of mine who was visiting us from Rhode Island. Her name is Wendy. And we saw the show, the Friday night show, the run-out show, and the Miss Blobfest pageant. And I was just completely blown away. I just said, how do I get to try this and compete? And it just looked like so much fun. And I just thought it would be a riot. I just thought it just felt, I was just drawn in completely.
So that was the year that Alex Dahl had won, I believe, right? For Miss Blobfest. And then I think that is that right? Was that 2017 or was that 2018? That was
2018 that I watched the run out show. So
okay.
So I think Alex won, and Suzanne and even Aurora was on stage. They were all kind of together.
Yes, we had Aurora as our third place Miss Blobfest because honestly, you know, it was, we didn't have a lot of entries that year for Miss Blobfest, surprisingly. So I thought it would be fun to at least have a third runner-up on stage, and since we already had Aurora part of the show, it just seemed like fun that she would be kind of an imposter in there, you know, also volleying for Miss Blobfest.
I thought it was fitting. There's a really great picture of of the three of them that I can remember from a few days after. I remember seeing it online where the three of them are kind of all clutching one another, waiting to hear who the winner was. It's such a just iconic photo in my mind of Miss Blobfest. And just maybe
yeah.
Yeah.
And what amazing folks, right? I mean, Suzanne is amazing. Alex is amazing. Aurora is amazing. I mean, you know, we've been very fortunate to just have so many like fun, because that was always my wish for Miss Blobfest. Like when we started doing it, because originally there wasn't, it was an idea that Joan had, Dr. I'm a Hack. And she wanted to have a Miss Blobfest, but didn't quite know how to get it off the ground. And the consensus is that you have to almost already have one so people know what it is. So for the first 2 or 3 years, Dixie was Miss Blobfest as a character, and it was just this whole idea of, you know, you could be the next Miss Blobfest, and to, you know, keep your eye out for, you know, announcing, you know, who would win. And so the first person who actually won as Miss Blobfest was Valerie.
And I have not met Valerie yet, so I would love to at some point. But I've seen her photos, and she looked stunning also.
She was stunning. Valerie, I called her Valerie Weird Spooky, but her name is, I think, Weisbecky or something like that. But to me, she'll always be Valerie Weird Spooky. But the important thing about Miss Blobfest, I felt, is that this Blobfest would have to be someone who would be willing to become part of the troupe. You know, someone who could play, someone who could roll with the jokes. And, you know, we made it part of the Miss Blobfest character where she's trying to kill, you know, the person who is the runner-up or whatever, you know. So we had Dixie trying to kill everyone as Miss Blobfest.
And I just think it just works so well. I've already, you know, I know at some point, right, my heart will start to, like, I'm so excited at this point, but at some point around say May or June next year, I'll start to have to plot, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, right. Wait a second. I don't want somebody else to have this. But, you know, again, I feel like whoever is Miss Blobfest, again, becomes kind of an honorary part of the troupe, right? An honorary player, you know, a not ready for primetime player of sorts, you know?
Yeah, I actually kind of felt that way even in 2019 as a runner-up. I absolutely felt from the very moment I walked into the 1903 theater for rehearsal, I absolutely felt welcome, and like you guys were just like, yeah, come on, let's do this, and it was absolutely fantastic.
Yes, and you were wonderful, and it was, and I would, you know, it was brutal to have to choose a Miss Blobfest that year, because both of you were more than suited, which was why I was so glad that you got it this year. You know, and from all accounts, I think that was a unanimous decision to make you Miss Blobfest this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
The way that I feel like is that if it's on stage, it's part of the show, you know?
Yeah,
and
certainly.
So, you know, it's first and foremost for the audience, you know, no matter what we do. It's never for just one person. So I really love the fact that, you know, the Miss Blobfest pageant is just, it's not like, okay, everything stops so that we can sort of do this sort of obligatory thing and then we go back to the actual show. Miss Blobfest is always sort of integrated into the universe of the stage show, you know?
Yeah, certainly.
I thought what you guys did this year was really fun too. It was great to see all of the former Miss Blobfest interacting. That was something that we could never do in real space, in real time, on the real stage. So it was really great that you know, we actually, with this home version of Blobfest, it became not what we couldn't do, but the things we can do now,
Absolutely. I feel like somehow it sort of like, because obviously I love the in-person, the whole atmosphere of being on the stage and being in the theater, being at the Colonial, and the whole weekend is such a whimsical, magical thing to do. But the home edition, it still maintained that kind of community feeling. And you really that came across really well, I thought. Just the excitement level, everybody's enthusiasm, and just the things we were able to do, like the Skype call, was an amazingly fun thing to film. Everybody, I swear, I worked the night that we recorded it. I had been at work for 8 hours and then drove home and just got ready to do it. And I just laughed so hard the whole night. It was just the perfect way to end like a long day. And it's one of those moments where like you go to bed and I'm just like, my face hurts from smiling and laughing so much. It was really a fabulous experience with them all.
We'll have more with Miss Blobfest Melissa Tapley after these splotches.
Do you like Mr. Lobo? And do you like it when Mr. Lobo does stuff? Well, you're in luck. Mr. Lobo Does is now available on video on demand. See groundbreaking hits like Fidget Spinners and Halloween, or the award-winning Procrastination. 17 episodes to choose from to binge all at once. But wait, there's more! Included are alternative scenes, deleted scenes, and fun extras exclusive to the set. You're not going to see these puppies anywhere else. Nab your copy today while supplies last. Operators are standing by at
VOD-MLD1.Bestow.tv. That's VOD-1.Bestow.tv.
We're back with more Melissa Tapley, our reigning Miss Blobfest Universe.
I didn't host the run out this year for the first time in 9 years, and that was strange for me. So it was nice to be part of that in the Miss Blobfest portion. And but it was more wonderful to just stand back and just see everyone shine and be funny and kind of carry the lore and the myth that we set down. I really felt like we, the canon of of Miss Blobfest or of the stage show was properly served and pushed forward. So it was nice to see all that come to life.
Again, it grows a little bit every year, right? And it gets more and more endearing and funnier, and maybe a little more dangerous for each Miss Blobfest every year.
Yes, I know. It's like the Expendables or something now. We've got this universe full of dangerous gals.
Yeah, and if you survive, then you're just like, it's like, you know what? That's perfect. Come on, you're one of us.
Yeah, you have my respect now. Even though I wanted to kill you with a chainsaw on stage, you've earned my respect now. Yeah, and as a tradition, and it's only been a very brief tradition, because for the 60th anniversary of the Blob, which I believe was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, right? Not this year, not last year, but the year before.
Oh,
yeah, 58.
Yeah, 2008.
18.
Yeah.
2018,
sorry,
we did
2018,
was the 60th anniversary of Blobfest, and there was something that I always wanted to do from the beginning that I always thought was missing, and so that year I suggested that we do the Daughter of Horror spook show, the spook show that they're watching in the movie with Bela Lugosi. And for whatever reason, no one said no. So they didn't give me midnight like I wanted. I had to do it at 4:30 in the afternoon. opportunity to make good on that desire to make Miss Blobfest a player, right? Part of the, that would be another thing that the Miss Blobfest could do, would be to participate in the spook show, in addition to, judging the costume contests and being in the parade and all that they could be part of the spook show. And I believe Alex did her razor blade eating routine. And I believe we had Suzanne in there doing the oath with the spinner. So, we tried to incorporate everybody in the spook show. And we got to do that this year and put you in the spook show, which I was very excited to do.
Yes, I was so excited about that, actually. Because we saw the spook show in person last year in the Berry Theater, which is just the perfect setting. So seeing the show translated to like this special that we were able to, view virtually, I just thought it translated so well. It was just so much fun.
We had to approach it as a totally different project because the Berry Theater experience is so intimate and so personal and so immersive that you really can't get that across on a screen and do it justice. We actually filmed 2 years of the spook shows, which were both standing room only. We filmed it both years, and the video that we got back was sort of dark and sparse, and you can't really get a real sense of the temperature of the room and what's going on. And we just really felt that it didn't put forth the right impression for that event. It didn't do justice to how that event is. So when Blobfest asked me to host the spook show this year, I said, okay, I need to approach this as a product to be viewed on a screen and not try to make it seem like a filmed live event. You know what I mean? Like you're not try to make it seem like we're just doing this just to, it's not just being captured. It's being created for the medium that we have.
Which I think it worked so well to the way you guys envisioned it, the way you translated it. It felt like an event in and of itself. Like when I was describing it to people at work who haven't seen it, I said, it's like a completely new special for Blobfest. Like I can't even explain it better than that. It's like, when you're a kid and you sit down to watch something on TV because this is the only time they're going to show it. Like I remember as a kid, we didn't rent The Wizard of Oz. It just came on TV once a year. Like it felt special like that. Like, okay, This is a major event we're watching. To me, that's how it came across. It was just so exciting. It really is a special part of Blobfest, I think. And I am glad to hear that no one said no. We didn't experience Spook Show the first year. It was last year that we went to our first in-person spook show. And we were just blown away. Like you said, the Berry Theater is an intimate little theater, and it just has such a feel to it. It reminds me a lot of the first theater I ever went to in my hometown in Rhode Island is the United Theater. And it had those, cherry red plush seats and red curtains. And I saw E.T. there, and it's just burned into my memory. And I feel like the Berry Theater has that really amazing feel to it. So to do the spook show in there is awesome, but the translation of that to a special, I don't know. It was fantastic. We had so much fun because my kids have seen it. Their friends were here, a couple friends watching it with us, and they want to go next year now. It was a lot of fun to watch on the screen for sure.
That's nice to hear, because other than in the chat, you don't get the instant audience response, that you would doing it for that audience. That's one of the great things about doing a live show. You get that instant feedback, and that room is so warm and wonderful and jam-packed, and people standing along the walls, and everything you do, no matter how ill-conceived it is is met with such wonderful response. And, doing it for video, you just have to be confident that's like, okay, we did our best. We feel that this works. We're going to put it out there. And I thought you were wonderful. I mean, not to turn this into a modeling, you were great. No, you were great.
Thank you.
But I felt like, it made me feel like I was Pee Wee and you were Miss Yvonne on TV you know what I mean? It had that. It had that feel to me. I felt like we were doing a whole different show when we were talking to each other on the televisor.
You could not have made me any happier than what you just said. The amount of Pee Wee Herman that gets quoted in my house, between that and Jaws, I think, my kids are finally like, yes, we got it. We know.
Oh, wow.
So that makes me so happy. Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny dynamic that I'm either quoting Pee Wee or Quint. So they usually, depending on my mood,
Wow. We got to get a bigger playhouse. Well, yeah, I had that. It felt like it's like, wow. I felt like you've done that before. Like you're talking on you're talking on the what is the thing that they talk on where they're talking in the on Pee Wee's Playhouse? They have the hands, hands and the string, and they're talking on the. Is it just the video phone? I think it is.
I was going to say, it's not Telly, is it?
No, because Telly is just he's just a screen.
Yeah.
I think it's just the video phone or something phone, but it's basically like it's just like a can of fruit cocktail that they're holding to their ear. And then it'll just be like Cowboy Curtis or, the Sea Captain or any of those characters or Miss Yvonne or Mrs. Steve talking to Pee Wee on the video phone. That's what I felt like when I felt like we were, like I said, I felt like we were in a wholly different show, but at the same time, it was so appropriate. I
love it.
So
I'm gonna put big googly eyes on my armchair. I have a yellow armchair, so I just want to get big googly eyes and name her Cherry now.
There was a book that I saw in San Francisco called Sad Chairs, and it was just like a bunch of like this photographs of like people's chairs that people discarded, and it would just be like a couch sectional or somebody's dining room chair on the side of the road. And the saddest one was just this picture of someone's cherry.
Oh,
just in an alleyway somewhere. Looked like it just like had a bender and just dropped dead in an alley.
I'm gonna have to see if I can. I'm gonna have to see if I can get that book to the library, maybe.
Pee Wee's Playhouse chair that I don't know what happened to it, but they had to get rid of it. But yeah, that's right. You're a librarian, right?
So I'm a circulation assistant, which is like a librarian's assistant. But I am currently taking classes online to become a librarian at some point. So eventually we'll get.
Fantastic. Maybe you could try to get some Cinema Insomnia DVDs into the libraries.
Ooh, that's an idea, actually. They told me that if I won Miss Blobfest Universe, that I had to wear my crown, my tiara, and my sash. So that's what I did today. So we're doing curbside.
Wow.
Yes, we're doing curbside pickup at the library, and they're like, "All right, you get to be Miss Blobfest, delivering books to everybody." So it was fun. I'm like, there's no other library in the Chester County system that has Miss Blobfest handing you your books.
No, absolutely not. And that is so great. And that is so much a part of what Blobfest is all about. This community participation. Everyone gets in on it. And everyone for a little bit of time gets to be silly and magical. And that's just so great.
Yeah, there's such a true, genuine sense of whimsy and glee when you're walking on Bridge Street and you're, whether it's the run out or it's the street festival, there's just a really amazing feeling about being there. And I'm glad, like, you know, I've had my friend Wendy come for a few years, just trying to get, like, my brother's in Minnesota, trying to get him to come out for it. It's actually on his birthday next year on July 9th. So I'm like, you must come out for your birthday next year. So, yeah, I just try to explain it to people. And I'm hopeful that, for those who have watched the home edition, that some of that translated, because I definitely felt like that sense of community and that spirit of getting this translated well. So I think that, you know, of my friends who watched it, I had friends in Canada and friends here in the States who watched it with us virtually. And, you know, several of them are just like, oh, I wish I could come like every year now, you know? So it's just, it's unlike anything. Like I've gone to a lot of conventions and I love, you know, going to like, conventions and just celebrating fandom in general, but there's just nothing quite like Blobfest. I think it's just really, really giddy, fun time. It really is.
Well, Melissa Tapley, I believe you are the perfect ambassador to spread the word and tell everyone about Blobfest and what it's all about. And thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, or the pODDcast, emphasis on the odd.
I am so grateful to be on the show. Thank you for having me. Emphasis on that odd. I am smiling so hard right now. Whether you can hear it or not, it's there for sure.
Well, we could feel it. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you so much.
Now we have a brand new Miss Blobfest for 2020. You want a big hand? Her name is Melissa Tapley. And we thought it might be fun, as part of her duties as Miss Blobfest, to judge our annual Spook Show Screaming Contest. Anybody want to win some prizes? They want to win some prizes. Miss Blobfest, are you there?
Hi, Mr. Lobo. I'm here.
Hey, Miss Blobfest, we got some screamers here. I was wondering if maybe you could judge the contest for us.
I would love to judge the screaming contest.
Fantastic. Okay, I want you to listen really good to each one, all right?
I'm all ears.
Okay. All right, this is contestant number 1. Hey, Dad, how you doing? Just belt out like your best scream, okay? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. We love how positive Melissa Tapley always sounds. I mean, she's got like the best attitude.
Yeah, she's delightful.
And she's so hard on the team. I feel excited that we have a Insomniac as Miss Blobfest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like, you know, this is something that's going to help us in our crusades. She, of course, purchased, or I should say, she won the tier for the chair.
Yes.
Our Patreon tier for Cinema Insomnia's patreon.com/Cinema Insomnia.
I'd say put it on the screen, but
we don't
not that
know.
sort
Aaron
of thing.
can't put it on the screen in this situation. But, you know, it is amazing to me that it's you know, this person who is so involved with coming to the shows, being involved with the shows, watching the movies, and then now she's on the, you know, the cult movie committee there, right? At the Colonial Theater. She's now Miss Blobfest. You know, she's been integrated into the Mr. Lobo Spook Show. You know, here's a person that we've seen, you know, kind of, I don't want to say blossom. That doesn't make any sense because she's a grown woman.
Yeah.
But it is neat to see new people who find this stuff and become part of it, and become part of what I like to call the team. And I feel like she's on the team. I think Kat is well on her way to being on the team.
She's pretty on the team.
And this is a person who, watched movies, wore costumes, came to shows. And I think that, putting your time in, you never know where it goes. I mean, when you were going to Blobfest as a teenager, were you a tot?
I was a teenager.
You were a teenager.
I was actually, I think my first year I was 20.
Okay.
So I wasn't quite a tot.
Not a tot.
Yeah.
But you were just a gal.
I was a gal.
With a bag of posters at a show.
Yeah.
Right?
Actually, my first year I brought paintings to...
You brought art.
I brought art to give to Gulagogo.
And you did a paintings of Vlad Crichton and the Invisible Man?
I did.
How do you do a painting of the Invisible Man?
He's all wrapped up.
Okay, so
and he's a snappy dresser.
He is very snappy.
Yeah.
Yes. So and then you presented Inviso and Crichton, who's a hunchback, and Vlad, who's a vampire, with these
big eye versions
of themselves, paintings, and they appreciated them. I'm assuming.
I wouldn't know. They looked appreciative. They were humoring me for sure.
So, but again, you're just a 20-year-old gal coming to a show with some fan art. Mm-hmm. And then a few years later, you're one of the, creators of the stage show. You're one of the performers on of the stage show. You were Miss Blobfest.
Yeah.
It's just all these sort of things.
It was wild.
That started very, small things get bigger.
Yeah.
And you and I have had a long ride with Blobfest.
Sure.
For me, it's been 9 years.
Yeah.
And for you, it's been longer.
11 or 12.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's an exciting kind of thing where, you can come back to an event again and again and be more and more a part of it, or more and more involved, or find different things to do or different ways to participate.
And there's so many ways to participate. I mean, between everything that goes on in the stage show and then everything that happens at the street fair, you can literally anyone can be in the parade, the CO2 like. What do you call that? Fire extinguisher parade.
Fire extinguisher parade at noon on Saturday. Anybody can just jump in there and just march along to the blob theme while they're blasting CO2 in the air.
I mean, you could just literally accidentally be in that parade.
Yeah.
And then there's all the costume contests and everything.
It's a very interesting event because the Friday night is almost 100% focused on the stage show. Mm-hmm. And the run out, of course.
Yeah.
So then there's a weird combination of a stage show and then a reenactment that you get to be part of. And then on the Saturday, it's like a convention where you're setting up our table. We're setting up our tables and selling DVDs and posters and 8x10s and toys and things.
And it's very hot.
And it's extremely hot, usually if it's not raining. Cats and dogs.
I'd like to apologize to anyone who came upon me at the street fair
because you're not in a great mood.
Because I'm never in a great mood because it's really warm.
And so then it's like during that part, if it's like a convention, and then meanwhile in the Colonial, there's double features happening all day. And then there's another kind of presentation at night. So you get the hosted movie experience on the Saturday night. Mm-hmm. And then the addition of the Spook Show, which is another entirely different thing. And then on Sunday, we do all the celebrity interviews and all of that, which is more like a panel, going to like a panel discussion. Mm-hmm. So, all of these aspects all come together and make Blobfest. And it's just, it is an interesting and incredible thing. And there's so many different aspects of it. And I've always felt like I was incredibly fortunate to somehow get sucked into it, and to actually be able to MC it was really an incredible thing. This year, of course, Chuck was the MC, but loved doing the spook show. It was actually almost really awesome to just be able to focus down on just that 74-minute spook show and not spread myself so thin over 3 days.
Yeah, because by the time we do the spook show, typically on a Saturday, we've done a full day of selling on the street. And then it's kind of like fly by the seat of your pants. Because everybody is just in there, and then it's like a whirlwind.
It's spastic and exhausted.
Yeah.
And
a whole lot of fun. But it was definitely nice to kind of really condense it. And
the spook show was one of those things that we just did as an extra thing, and it was always really loose, and so we just sort of threw a bunch of stuff together. And I literally would plan it like 15 minutes before going out on stage and just tell everybody, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this.
And it always worked out like magic.
And somehow like magic, it would all come together. So it was nice to take all the best aspects of that and kind of print it, lock it down into a coherent show that people could enjoy. And the feedback we got was really amazing for that. And speaking of like exhausted and frazzled and spastic, I don't know where Paul is. I haven't been able to get in touch with him. So I hope that he's all right. We've had to do these 2 podcasts pretty much without his involvement in any way, shape, or form, which has been great, really, for the most part.
Yeah.
But I still am worried about Paul and if he's okay. I hope he's all right. I have 3 minutes left.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
How much time is this? Are you timing for? Oh, okay.
That is the longest 10 minutes of my life.
I didn't signal a minute.
I just don't have anything more to say.
All right.
I gotta play
All right.
Well, we're keeping it in there. No,
let's just keep going.
Rolling.
We got a 3-minute cue from Aaron, and I was segueing.
Let's talk about
literally possibly
anything.
Ending this, but now it's gotten weird.
Maybe
right?
this is why we need Paul.
This is why we need Paul. To just
keep us on track.
Keep us on track and
keep me off
tell
my phone.
Dumb jokes and keep Dixie off her phone.
like the dad jokes. Man, my dad loves Paul.
Dixie's dad loves Paul. Why don't you tell the story about...
Oh, it's already been on the podcast.
Yeah, you can just refresh people.
All right. So, God, what was Paul's stupid joke?
I think it was a that's what she said.
Oh,
joke.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what spurred it on, but my father was over and Paul was here and somebody said something a little bit randy and Paul quipped with the always clever that's what she said. And my dad... slapped me in the shoulder. And he's like, that guy's funny.
No, he said, now that guy's funny.
Oh, yeah. As if to say that maybe my husband isn't funny. Is that, yeah. And I was like, yeah, of course you would think that is funny because it is like the lowest form of comedy.
Lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think your dad doesn't quite... I think my stuff's a little too dry.
Yeah.
For your dad. Or a little too absurd. Because I think my humor runs in a couple of directions. And one of them is super dry.
Yeah.
And the other way is real absurd.
But to be fair, my parents did introduce me to Monty Python. And I feel like that is both dry and absurd.
That's true.
So, I don't know.
But they had drugs.
Ah, yes. That definitely moistens... the cake a bit.
Moistens the cake a bit. Yeah. Okay, wait, write that down. Yeah. Hold on.
Dry humor.
Moistens the cake a bit. That is exactly right. We got to make a shirt that says this.
Drugs in the cake a bit. Yeah.
Is it would just say drugs across the top?
Maybe drugs in big letters.
In big letters, and then it says moistens the cake a bit.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the Blobfest shirt for next year.
I don't think so.
No, that's a shame. That's a shame. My deepest gratitude to Dixie for joining us and helping me not fill out this segment.
I never talk at Blobfest.
No, that's true. And my big thanks, of course, to Melissa Tapley, this year's Miss Blobfest, and Paul, wherever you are.
Meanwhile, in outer space.
Huh. I wonder when Lobo's going to call in to do another podcast. It's been like over a week now. What's this? It's a letter. It's a letter from the Blob. Check that out. It's thick, too. It must have been writing a lot. Gal, cue up my my letter reading music. Gotta put this puppy out there. That's my letter reading music? All right, I'll go with it. All right, let's see here. Wow, there's a lot of pages here. Let's get this up here. All right. Dear Paul, thank you very much for your time spent writing me all those letters. While I was unable to read them, parentheses, not sure what you were thinking, I don't have eyes. Fair enough. Those words tasted very, very, very well. As the amount of letters that you wrote increased, so did my belt line. I tried to write back and tell you more about myself, but those pens just dissolved away. I've consumed every keyboard in any attempt to reach you by electronic mail. I've had to find alternative means to get this to you, but I just had to send you this letter. Wow, it finally did it. He, she, what is the Blob anyway? Anyway, we'll go on. Getting to the juicy part, so let's see why we finally get this letter. Requesting that you stop writing me, as well as observing the attached cease and desist letter. There it is. I hope you understand. Love, the Blob. Dictated, but not read. Well, isn't that just a bunch of horseshit?
You have been listening to the Sleepless Nights podcast, or should we say, pODDcast.
pODDcast.
Emphasis on the odd. Our theme is by Mars Homeworld at Dead House Music. Our opening announcement is by Ophelia Necro. She does a radio show called Suicide Watch. And you could reach Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com, or find me on YouTube, YouTube/Mr. Lobo. MISTERLOBO. Mr. Lobo on Facebook, Facebook/MR.LOBO, or on Twitter, at Mr. Lobo, MISTERLOBO.
Or you can find myself, Paul Sanders, or better known as Bestow TV, at Bestow.tv, on YouTube /Bestow TV, on Twitter at Bestow Prod, PROD, and on Facebook, Bestow TV.
If you want to place an advertisement with this podcast, and gosh, why wouldn't you? We could be talking about you right now. Contact us, Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com. That's MRLOBO @CINEMAINSOMNIA.com. Or support us on Patreon. Patreon supporters get to hear this podcast before anyone else, and a lot of other great stuff, right, Paul?
Sure.
Doesn't get it better than that, right? So come join the fun at
patreon.com/Sleepless Nights Podcast.
That's
patreon.com/Sleepless Nights Podcast.
Please stay up with us next week for another Sleepless Nights podcast. Or should we say, pODDcast.
pODDcast.
The best thing about being an insomniac is never having to say goodnight.
Good night.